Welcome to Tuesday night, September 25th. It's the Matt Sager podcast. I'm Matt Sager. It's the day after Better Call Saul aired, which means it's recap time. And you know what I've got to say about that, don't you? OMG, OMG, squiggle, squiggle, squee. That's right, I get a little bit enthusiastic when it's Better Call Saul recap day. It's a big event for me. The season's almost over, and this has been the best season yet of the best show on television. And I've got some regrettable news. I mean, it's great TV. Don't get me wrong. The news is not bad about the show itself. It's bad news if you care about the fate of some of the particular characters. Spoiler alert, Kim's Breaking Bad. That's the fate we've all been fearing. Is she going to go down a dark path? Is she going to meet a fate worse than death? I guess it all depends on how you view the world, because it looks like she's going to be fine. Again, depending on how you view fine. I was quite convinced this time last week. If you go back and listen to the episode I recapped last week, I was sure that Kim and Jimmy were done, and that she'd turned a definitive corner, that she'd realized Jimmy was just going down too dark a road for her, and that her path led a different direction. The path of truth, justice, all that cliche stuff that you would actually hope a certain type of lawyer, like a good kind of lawyer, would be pursuing. And that the sadness she would encounter would be the inevitable split with Jimmy. That's taken an interesting turn. It looks like she's gonna be more of a Saulette. But let's start with Nacho. A lot of stuff happened this week. This week's episode of Better Call Saul called Coushatta. Spoiler alerts all around, because I'm recapping this one like crazy tonight. A lot of characters went through a lot of serious transformative moments. Pivotal moments that are going to define them going forward. Both Better Call Saul characters and characters we're going to see later on Breaking Bad. Notably, Nacho has been spending the last several months as a kind of double agent, working with the Salamancas, but really working for, enslaved to, really, as Gus is wont to do, Gus. People don't really have a good working relationship with Gus. They're either his trusted hitmen, or they find themselves an indentured servant to him. And either way, they end up absorbing a lot of his darkness and his evil, and that's certainly the case with Nacho. So Nacho's chilling out at the restaurant he usually does, and in fact, he's chilling out with a face that should be familiar to fans of Breaking Bad. He's hanging out with a much more sedate version of the guy we would come to know as Crazy 8, aka Domingo, cousin of Emilio, Jesse's cooking partner, before Walt. Remember how I said a couple weeks ago that Jesse was almost certainly going to be appearing on this show soon, and there were all kinds of hints suggesting that? Well, those hints are getting more and more pronounced, as now Crazy 8 is just hanging out with Nacho. And in walks one of their dealers. He's got the money to distribute, but he's coming up a little bit short. Now, Crazy 8 is not so crazy. Plays it pretty cool, actually. Especially compared to the guy we met in Breaking Bad Season 1. Nacho, on the other hand, well, like I said, he's spent the last several months under Gus's tutelage, so let's see how he handles this. The dealer first approaches Crazy 8/Domingo, who in this case is actually the voice of reason.
I'm a little late, yo. Couldn't do nothing about it. Some dumbass festival over at the fairground, Indian shit. 5-0's all over. But not real 5-0, like the Reynolds. But you can't sell in front of them neither. We gonna make you right next time.
You got them right, you huh?
For sure, next week.
So at this point in time, Crazy 8 is not acting so crazy. He's not being a hard ass. He's being pretty cool with the guy, all things considered. Like, all right, you're a little bit light. You ran into some trouble with the cops. No worries. But let's see what Nacho's got to say. Nacho, now informed by months and months of working with Gus, the cartel, just becoming a more serious person than the Nacho we met in Episode 1, Season 1. He's gotten dark.
Hey. Come here.
Nacho, man, I gotta get to getting.
Just come here.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, he asks, all innocently, as if he doesn't know. And you know, he probably doesn't. Ignacio, when we first met him, he was the kinder, gentler, cartel, drug-dealing, murdering guy. Second only to Kim. He was kind of the sympathetic voice on this show. After spending a couple of months with Gus, not so much. Let's see what he does with the drug dealer who comes up short. Yeah, he just got stabbed. Wiping himself off.
What you owe with interest.
Yeah, Nacho's not screwing around anymore. Nacho has taken his lessons to heart, and he's an apt pupil. In fact, we may very well be listening to the origin story of how Crazy 8 became so crazy.
You had to do that, man. God's not gonna learn otherwise.
Mm-hmm. So why didn't you do it?
Taking gangster lessons from Nacho. And this is how we meet the Crazy 8 we meet in Breaking Bad Season 1, Episode 2, I think, where he's training his dog to sick balls on this punching bag. This is the beginning of a hardened gangster. The story continues. The transformation from one seemingly harmless, innocent piece of matter, carbon, a human being, turning into something dangerous, weaponized, and out of control. A transformation. The theme is still, I love it. We're 4 seasons in. Breaking Bad's years past, and yet the story is continuing and the through lines and the theme are all the same. Now, there's another story that's been going on for the past several weeks in which Gus is building out his meth lab. Through Mike, he's hired a team of German construction workers who are working in this little village he's built for them to build this basically underground city in secret. And the people have gotten a little bit stir-crazy, these Germans. They want to go out, they want to have fun, they want to party. Mike had tried to allot for this by stocking the place with games and a bar. But the truth is, they're still basically prisoners. They thought they were going to be working for X amount of months, and there was an accident. The project's going to be probably about a year they're going to be spending in New Mexico. And although many of the crew members are really, really nice, really fun, the foreman in particular, of course named Werner, him and Mike hit it off wonderfully. Mike really has a soft spot for him. But then there's another guy on the crew, this guy named Kai, which rhymes with die, which I think is going to happen before the season ends, but let's just see. Following the advice of Werner, Mike decides that, the crew could use some R&R, and so Mike brings all the Germans out to a bar. The same bar, in fact, where he would later kick Walter White's ass in Season 4 when Walter comes in and says, "Mike, you gotta help me take out Gus." And Gus sighs, stands up, and beats him to a pulp. That same bar is the scene where a bunch of Germans are having fun, kicking back, watching some strippers, enjoying a couple of presumably Meisterbrows or Hugardens or something Germanic, when suddenly there's a problem that Mike needs to deal with.
Sorry, Mike. This guy slipped up for a private dance.
You're not throwing me out. I paid my money.
You paid to look, not touch, asshole. That's it. I'm calling the cops. Let's see how you like hanging out in MDC.
No. You don't need to call the cops.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the guy who's telling you this one's had too much, and I'm here to get him out of your hair.
And this Kai has no idea how lucky he is that he's still pulling air, that he's still alive, and he just is not gonna rest until Mike puts a bullet in him. There's just no way this doesn't end that way. Listen to how he responds as Mike tries to gracefully extricate him from this dumb situation he's found himself in.
This idiot goes home, sleeps it off.
No, I'm not going. I paid.
You are done. Go on, try me. Get him out of here.
Now, bigger men have made worse mistakes with Mike and lived to tell the tale. But this Kai, he's gotten into business with Mike, and through Mike, with Gus. He's gonna make Mike too angry, and even if Mike, he's grown very fond of Werner. There's no question about that. I'll illustrate that in a moment, but even Werner is not gonna be able to save Kai, because Kai has an attitude and a big mouth, and he's building the lab for Gus. I predict that Kai is going to have an unnaturally short lifespan, and that it's going to come to an end very soon for him. But let's get back to Werner and Mike bonding, and hope that at least Werner makes it out alive, if not Kai and hopefully the rest of the crew.
I said nothing about the construction that would not be true for thousands of others. By now, they have forgotten me entirely.
They forgot. The German national in the middle of Albuquerque, talking about pouring hundreds of tons of concrete at a secret underground location.
Yeah, you were right. I'm sorry, Mike. I had too much beer. And I may have said more than I should have.
Mike had the best of intentions when he brought Werner and the crew out to this bar. He really thought that they needed, as he put it, rest and relaxation. That was going to be what helped them to unwind, what would speed up the production process on the construction of the lab, what would soothe everyone's frazzled nerves. But even Werner, the one Mike trusts the most, had a little too much to drink, opened his mouth a little bit too much, and the extent of how secret this project is just cannot be overstated. The danger to which he's subjecting Mike, Gus, and of course, ultimately, really himself, is more than I think he's capable of imagining. So Mike is going to do everything he can to get it through his head. He really doesn't want to kill this guy, and I think he sees that moment is coming, where he's going to have to wipe out his whole crew that he brought in from Germany.
Listen to me carefully. The man we're working for is very serious. Think about the precautions we take to keep everything that goes on here quiet. Think about how much money you're making. Think about what happens if something goes wrong. Do you understand what I am saying to you?
I do understand. And I'm sorry to cause you any problem. You have my word. Nothing like this will happen again.
Let us hope not. I have this awful feeling that there's going to be no return trip home for anyone on this German crew. This is going to do terrible things for diplomatic relations between Germany and the U.S. As if things weren't already tense enough. Now Mike's going to screw things up for NATO. Well, not really. But I believe this crew of Germans, some crass, some very kind like Werner, are going to meet a dark fate before the end of this season. But back to Kim. Kim approached Jimmy at the end of last episode and said, look, whatever scam you've got going on, stop it. I've got something better. And I was sure that that something was something pure, particularly given the way that episode had opened with that montage with the split screen showing that although Kim and Jimmy were together, they were really separate. They were living separate lives. They were following separate paths. They had separate fates. Jimmy was going to wander a dark path while Kim followed the light. Well, we're now seeing Kim's plan in action, and it is about as Saulish, if that's a word. I hereby declare it is. This is about as Saulish as it gets. Here's Kim facing off against the prosecutor after she has, she's defending Huel, who whacked an off-duty police officer who was just having a very nice conversation with Jimmy, asking him to stop selling burner phones on the street. Huel knocks him to the floor. He's facing charges of assaulting an officer. It would seem pretty clear-cut, and yet Kim walks in and faces the ADA of Albuquerque with like 3 associates at $400 an hour. And the ADA, more than anything, is confused. She's like, what are you doing? What's going on here? And Kim is just stone-faced, poker-faced. She's got her plan on lock.
Bring every fancy associate you got, file all the motions you want, and at the end of all this, your client is still going away.
Okay. I guess we'll see.
So, the ADA sitting there going, what is going on with Kim? What makes her think she's got this case sewn up so tight? Well, the judge calls both parties in, and he is pissed. He is drowning in a mountain of letters. Free Huel. We love Huel. Huel's our hero. Huel's the savior of our town in Louisiana, Coushatta, for which the episode is named. The judge is pissed and confused, as is the ADA.
I have one question for you, Miss Erickson. Are you prosecuting Santa Claus?
Your Honor?
Because it looks like Miracle on 34th Street in here. Look at this. This is just today's batch. Huh? All addressed to me, all from some backwater in Louisiana. Look at, get your hands off our hero, they say. Mercy for Huel Babineau, they say. What, like I'm sending him to the electric chair? Come tell me, Miss Wexler, did you start this particular ball rolling?
Kim, meanwhile, remains stone-faced. She is so in character. She is more Saul than Saul right now. It's a little bit disturbing. When Ray Seahorn has referred in recent interviews to, I almost hope Kim dies because I'm afraid she's going to meet a fate worse than death, I wonder if this isn't exactly what she was referring to. Becoming someone who could look a judge in the eye and say this.
Did I instruct the people of Coushatta, Louisiana to start writing letters to the court? No, Your Honor, I did not. That being said, it's clear Mr. Babineau has touched the lives of many people in his hometown. And I do know they're planning to send a contingent here to show their support during the trial.
Are you talking about a bunch of yahoos packing my court?
Yeah, she's now got the judge terrified that a bunch of Louisiana nut jobs are going to show up, probably in suspenders and bare feet, looking like they just stumbled into the courtroom right out of the pages of a Mark Twain novel. It's terrifying, and Kim, meanwhile, remains stone-faced, completely serious, completely confident that she's pulling this off, because she is. And meanwhile, what does she have Jimmy doing? Well, remember the distaste in her voice when she first found out he was selling drop phones on the street, these burners that can't be traced? Well, turns out she may have been disgusted, but she was also inspired. She's got the entire town of Coushatta being run out of one room by Jimmy, a couple of girls he's working with, and maybe 3 or 4 dozen of these drop phones. And if you remember, this is another great Breaking Bad throwback. But remember early on, part of what they did to throw the scent off of Walter White was to set up this sort of GoFundMe page, the hero who's dying of cancer, which he was. But he was doing some other stuff as well, and in order to launder money for him effectively, one of the first things Saul did was set up this website saying, "Help out good old Walt." Here we get to see him cutting his teeth in the art of creating fake websites with fake fundraisers for fake heroes. As there's a website for the hero of the Church of Coushatta, good old Huel, who saved the seniors from a fire. The ADA is astonished, doesn't believe it, rightfully so, but she calls the number on this bullshit website, and she speaks with the pastor, whose voice you might find familiar from many funny Mr. Show episodes.
Wouldn't you know it, there was a short circuit
in the old coffee maker. The whole thing catch fire, and the flame leaped up to the windowsill.
Well, Huel happened to be visiting his people, and he saw the smoke.
Well, what did he do? He burst right in, and he carried out every last one of them oldsters.
My goodness.
And what happened to the church?
The church is fine.
I do love hearing Bob Odenkirk doing his backwater Southern guy. Odenkirk, in addition to being this incredible actor, most people think of him now as this wonderful dramatic actor, which he is. But we shouldn't forget, he got his start in comedy, and he has not lost any of those chops. But what's upsetting about this episode, it's great to see Jimmy and Kim being partners in crime, Bonnie and Clyde, but it's also very sad, because the hope had been that Kim would uplift Jimmy, and instead, as seems to be his way, Jimmy is definitely dragging Kim down to his level. He seems very guilt-ridden by the whole thing, but at the very end, it appears as though Kim has found her true calling. Kim has become a criminal attorney, in the words of Jesse Pinkman. It's very sad, it's very surprising, but it's damn good TV, and I gotta tell you, Better Call Saul remains the best show on TV. And if you're not watching this, look, if you had any interest at all in Breaking Bad, you've just got to. And if you just like dramatic television, period, you need to watch Better Call Saul. I mean, yes, you can just get these recaps from me every Tuesday. I will continue to provide them through the end of Season 4, and as soon as Season 5 premieres, I'll be right back doing them again. But just do yourself a favor and watch Better Call Saul already. Come on, what are you thinking not watching this? Also, contact me while you're at it. Send me emails to matt@mattsager.com. Call me at 646-535-4788. And you can reach me via social media as well. Twitter is @MattSager. Instagram is RealMattSager. Facebook, The Matt Sager. My voiceover page is Matt Sager VO. And this podcast's page is Matt Sager Podcast. And for more of those social media links, as well as back archives of this podcast, articles, blog posts, my voiceover reels, contact info, and a whole lot more, go to mattsagervoiceover.com.